My boyfriend was sleeping with my father in our home while I was out working double shifts to pay rent. It sounds like a lie you'd only hear in a twisted soap opera or on some anonymous confession thread. But I lived it. I saw it. I heard it. And no matter how much I wish I could unhear that breathless moan echoing down the hallway, I never will. It happened on a humid Thursday night in July. I was supposed to be at the hospital for a full 12-hour night shift. I'm a nurse, but one of the patients I was covering passed away during the day, so they let me go early. I didn't tell anyone. I figured I'd surprise my boyfriend Mark with dinner from that little Thai place he loved and maybe a long overdue back rub. We hadn't been connecting lately. He'd been distracted, distant. I thought maybe he was depressed or tired or bored. Turns out he was just busy screwing my dad. When I got home, everything felt off the moment I stepped inside. The living room lights were low, but the hallway lamp was on. There was a shirt tossed over the stair rail, men's shoes, 2 pairs, at the door. One pair was mine, the other wasn't. I crept upstairs, trying not to make a sound, and the moment I reached the bedroom door, our bedroom, I heard them, gasping whispers, the sound of skin slapping against skin. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might throw up. I nudged the door open an inch, and there he was, Mark, naked, sweaty, tangled in sheets with my father, who didn't even look remotely ashamed. They didn't see me. I backed away, quiet, heart hammering like it wanted to escape my chest. I left the house without saying a word, drove to the edge of the lake and screamed until my throat hurt. I'm not going to lie. At first I blamed myself. Maybe I hadn't been enough. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I made Mark feel lonely. But then I realized something even worse. This wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated, planned. And once I started digging, I uncovered layers of deceit that had been happening long before Mark ever moved into my apartment. That night broke something in me, but it also lit a fire. I wasn't going to confront them. I was going to destroy them. The next morning, I made him eggs. I cracked each shell with deliberate calm, whisking them into a yellow froth while Mark stood behind me in the kitchen, yawning and rubbing his neck like he hadn't spent the night wrapped around my father in the very bed where I used to whisper that I loved him. I kept my back to him, scared that if he looked into my face, he'd see the way my hands trembled, or worse, the dead, glassy stillness behind my smile. "Morning, babe," he said, kissing the side of my head like he always did. I kissed him back. "I thought you had a night shift," he added casually, pouring himself a glass of orange juice, as if my early return hadn't nearly given him a heart attack last night. "Patient died. They cut me loose early." He flinched. I saw it, barely, but it was there. A flicker in the eyes, a small tightening of the jaw. He tried to cover it with a shrug. "Damn, that sucks." I smiled. "Yeah, life's full of surprises, huh?" He didn't respond to that, just sat down at the table and pulled out his phone, thumbs tapping quickly. Probably texting him, my father. I served him his eggs and toast and watched him eat like a man without guilt. He even moaned a little when he bit into the toast, licking crumbs from his lips like the night before hadn't happened. It took everything in me not to scream. Instead, I cleaned, I mopped, vacuumed, wiped down the mirrors twice. Anything to keep my hands busy, to keep from lunging across the table and driving a fork into his lying mouth. But more importantly, I started paying attention. I noticed Mark never left his phone face up anymore, that he flinched every time it buzzed, that he'd started locking the bathroom door when he took showers, something he never did before. At night, he claimed exhaustion and rolled away from me in bed. During the day, he was sweet, gentle, still calling me baby, still holding my hand. But I knew now. I knew. And I wasn't about to let on that I did. I waited until he went to the gym that afternoon, a ritual he never missed, to dig through his backpack. I found the second phone first, a burner, cheap, prepaid, hidden under a zippered flap I never thought to check. It had one contact saved under a fake name, James B. My father's name is Benjamin James, and the messages, dozens of them, mostly deleted, but a few had slipped through. "Last night was incredible. He doesn't suspect a thing. Call me when he's asleep." I sat there holding the phone, hands sweating, stomach churning, reading messages exchanged in my own house. My safe place, the life I built, the bed I bought, The man I loved and my father. I should have confronted him right then. I should have called them both out, screamed, thrown something, kicked him out. But instead, I took photos, screenshots, every message, every timestamp, every incriminating detail. I even found a photo Mark had sent, a mirror selfie from my bathroom, half-dressed, captioned, "Wishing you were in here with me." I sent it all to my private cloud, locked behind multiple passwords, a new email account, hidden folders. I wasn't going to just react, I was going to plan. When Mark came home later, sweaty and pumped from the gym, he wrapped his arms around me from behind. I leaned into his chest like I always did, but now I was cataloging everything. His scent, his temperature, the way his voice softened when he asked what we were doing for dinner. "Spaghetti sound good?" I asked, turning to kiss his cheek. "Perfect," he smiled. I nodded. "I'll run to the store. Need anything else?" "Just you," he grinned. I left, drove 5 minutes away, parked, and sat in silence with the burner phone in my hand. Then I scrolled through my own messages, real ones, from friends I hadn't seen in months, the few people who'd tried to reach out before I got consumed in Mark's world. There was one, Tyler, an old friend from nursing school. We weren't close anymore, but I knew I could trust him. He'd always been good with tech, private, loyal, gay too, which meant he'd understand just how deep this betrayal cut. I messaged him. "Can I talk to you about something personal and bad?" He responded 3 minutes later. "Of course. Want to meet up? Tomorrow, noon, same coffee shop? I'll be there." I sat there a long time after that. The sun dipped lower, staining the sky orange. The burner phone buzzed once in my lap. A message from James B. "Are you alone? Can I come over?" I didn't reply. I deleted it. I drove home and made spaghetti with garlic bread, even let Mark kiss me on the mouth. When he asked if I wanted to watch a movie, I smiled and said, "Sure, but I'm tired. Let's not make it a long one." He nodded, oblivious. That night, while he slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling for hours, my fingers brushing the photos hidden in my cloud account like a rosary. This wasn't going to end with me sobbing into my pillow. It was going to end on my terms. And they'd never see it coming. The coffee shop was nearly empty when I walked in, just the way I remembered it. Worn couches, indie music humming low through the speakers, and the smell of burnt espresso lingering in the corners. Tyler was already there, tucked in the back booth with his laptop open and a pair of oversized glasses sliding down his nose. He looked up when I approached, eyes widening the moment he saw my face. "Jesus, Alex," he said softly. "You look like you haven't slept in days." I hadn't. I slid into the booth across from him and forced a tight smile. "It's been a week." He didn't push. Tyler never pushed. Instead, he closed his laptop and folded his hands, waiting. I took out my phone, opened the hidden folder, and turned the screen toward him. No words, just image after image. Mark's text, the mirror selfie, the time-stamped exchanges with my father. His expression never changed. He just stared, his mouth tightening more and more with every swipe. When he finally looked up, his voice was a whisper. "Your dad, Alex." I nodded, the knot in my throat making it hard to speak. Jesus Christ. "I caught them," I said quietly. I walked in on them. He was in my father's lap, kissing him, shirtless, laughing, like I was the joke. Tyler sat back slowly, running a hand through his hair. Okay. What do you want to do? You just want out? Or are you thinking something more?" I didn't blink. I want to ruin them both. His lips parted, but he didn't speak for a few seconds. Then slowly, he nodded. "You've got receipts," he said. "You're already ahead, but you can't just drop this like a bomb. You have to build it, make it clean." Surgical, I leaned in. "That's why I came to you." Tyler's eyes gleamed with something dark and brilliant. He pulled his laptop closer. "Okay, first, we track patterns. Where they meet, how they communicate, how often. We need their schedule. You know it better than anyone." "I can plant a keylogger on Mark's laptop," I said. "He rarely shuts it. Probably uses it for calls too." "And your dad?" I swallowed. "He works as a financial advisor, has a private office downtown, and a wife, my mom." Tyler's face hardened. "We bring her in?" I shook my head. "Not yet, not unless we have to. If she finds out too early, it gets messy. She'll shut down, cry, maybe even forgive him." Tyler nodded. "So we bait him, we track, we corner." "Exactly. We sketched out the plan in hushed tones. I'd create a fake online persona. A younger guy Mark might chase if he thought our relationship was truly unraveling, something dangerous, flirty, enough to lure him into another betrayal. Tyler would handle the tech, monitoring Mark's calls, tracking emails and texts, cloning the burner phone if needed. He was good with that stuff, scarily good. Within hours, we had the first layer of surveillance ready. But what happened next? I didn't expect. That evening, while Mark was in the shower, I opened his main laptop and plugged in the USB Tyler gave me. The keylogger installed quickly. I didn't even have to guess his password. He hadn't changed it in years. Typical Mark, charming, careless, always convinced he was too smooth to get caught. But as I snooped through his email, something new popped up. A reservation. Hotel Equinox, Wednesday night, 2 guests, presidential suite. I clicked the confirmation email. It had my father's name on it. He was booking them a night away. Like they were a couple. Like I didn't exist. My heart hammered as I printed the confirmation and slipped it into the back of my closet. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at Mark's side of the dresser, the drawer where he kept his watches, his designer cologne, the stupid bracelet I gave him for our first anniversary. When he stepped out of the shower, towel low on his hips, he looked at me and smiled. "What are you thinking about, babe?" "Nothing," I lied. "Just tired." He walked over and kissed my forehead. If he'd looked closer, he would have seen the tremor in my hands. 2 days later, I followed him. He told me he was working late. Something about a broken system at the hospital. I nodded, kissed him goodbye, and waited 20 minutes before slipping out behind him. He didn't go to the hospital. He went to the hotel. I stayed in the parking lot, engine off, hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel as I watched him walk in, his overnight bag slung casually over one shoulder. 10 minutes later, my father arrived. They kissed in the lobby. Kissed. It wasn't just sex. It was something else now. Something deeper. Sickening. And for the first time, I felt something cold and final settle inside me. This wasn't about cheating. It wasn't about lies. It was about annihilation. I took photos, video, time-stamped everything. Tyler texted me later that night. Did it go down? I sent him the footage. He didn't reply for 10 minutes. Then, okay. We're not just exposing this, we're going nuclear. I stared at the hotel one last time, their room's lights glowing behind the thick curtains, and I whispered to no one. This ends with both of you crawling. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was going to become the storm. I didn't sleep the night I watched them kiss in that hotel lobby. Instead, I sat in the dark with Tyler, the glow of his laptop flickering off our faces like we were war strategists planning an ambush. And in a way, we were. Except this war was personal. It wasn't about power or land. It was about betrayal, humiliation, and payback. Tyler sipped on his third Red Bull as he laid out what he called the crush cycle. It had 3 steps: isolate, expose, destroy. We'd start by slowly pulling Mark away from his support system, friends, coworkers, even casual acquaintances who could be leveraged in the fallout. We needed him to feel alone and unsure before the real blow landed. And for my father, we'd strike differently. His downfall would be public, slow, something his reputation couldn't survive. But first we needed dirt, more than sex tapes and hotel receipts. We needed habits, secrets, weaknesses. So I started watching them. Every move Mark made, every skipped call, every lie about late shifts, every unexplained absence, I logged it. Tyler helped me set up a Bluetooth beacon tracker hidden in Mark's car so I'd know exactly where he drove. Turns out he visited my father more than I knew, sometimes even in the middle of the workday, sometimes just for 15-minute visits, quick, intimate, and I started hearing them. The keylogger Tyler installed came with a microphone activation tool. I never meant to use it. I thought I could handle the images, the logistics, the strategy. But one night, curiosity, or maybe masochism, got the best of me. I clicked on an audio file timestamped just 2 days prior. Mark's voice breathless, then my father's low and possessive. They laughed, then silence. Then Mark whispered, "You're so much better than him, you know. You actually see me." My chest caved inward. That was the moment I stopped looking at Mark as someone I once loved. That was the moment I began to see him as someone I would destroy. We baited him first with temptation. Tyler created a fake Grindr profile, a younger guy, mid-20s, built, with just enough edge to appeal to Mark's type. We called him Lucas. Tyler worked that account like a puppet master, feeding Mark compliments, sexting late into the night, always just out of reach. Mark took the bait like a starving animal. Within a week, he was begging Lucas for a meetup, sending shirtless photos, desperate, needy. It was pathetic, and exactly what we wanted. While Mark spiraled with Lucas, I visited my mother. I hadn't intended to bring her into this yet, but the more I watched my father parade his affair like it was a second adolescence, the more I couldn't stomach her blind devotion. She greeted me with a warm smile, tea in hand. Her favorite playlist played softly in the background, and for a moment I wanted to pretend everything was normal. Then I saw the framed photo on the hallway table, my father, Mark, and me. From Christmas last year. My mother had captioned it with a silver marker. "My beautiful boys." I almost vomited. She noticed my stare and smiled. "You three always make me feel so lucky." I couldn't do it. I left without a word, feeling my lungs burn. Tyler was waiting outside in his car. He didn't say anything, just drove while I kept my eyes locked on the passing trees, trying to outrun the guilt. That night we executed phase 2, exposure. We took all the evidence, photos, audio clips, texts, and compiled it into a single explosive file. Tyler formatted it like a sleek blackmail dossier. It had Mark's name, title, employment details, and a timeline of every shady move he'd made, especially the parts involving my father. Then we printed one copy, bound, glossy, professional. We left it in Mark's locker at work. By the time he called me, panicked, stuttering, terrified, I was already watching from the hospital's cafe balcony. He didn't know I was there, but I saw him reading it, flipping page after page, paling by the second. He tried to call 3 times that day. I never answered. Instead, I let Tyler text him from the Lucas profile. "Hope you like surprises. There's more coming. You're not the only one I'm playing with." Mark stopped responding after that. But the real twist came when my father found out. Not from me, from a client. Apparently, one of the board members from his firm received an anonymous email with an attachment, a short video, crystal clear, time-stamped, showing Mark and my father in the backseat of a car, making out like horny teenagers. His firm was old school, Republican. Bible quotes in the lobby. The fallout was instant. He was placed on leave. Mom didn't know why, yet, but she suspected something serious. She kept texting me vague messages. "Have you talked to Dad? He's not himself. Did something happen with Mark?" And I wanted to scream, "Yes, Mom, your husband is fucking my boyfriend." But not yet. Not until I was ready. That same week, Mark came home early. His eyes were bloodshot, tie loose, face gaunt. I was on the couch, calm, TV on, casual. "Who did you tell?" he asked. I muted the screen. "Everyone who matters." He sat down across from me, his hands trembling. "You don't understand what you're doing." "No," I said, "you don't." He laughed bitterly. "You think you're some kind of mastermind? You're not. You're a jealous little boy who couldn't handle losing." I tilted my head. "Then why are you shaking?" He didn't answer. And that's when I knew I had him. Not just scared, but broken. I stood and walked to the door. "Oh," I said, "if you're still seeing my dad, tell him I hope he enjoyed the board meeting." I heard it was illuminating. Then I left. And the look on Mark's face? I'd remember it forever. He showed up at my apartment 3 nights later. It was just past midnight. Rain was hitting the windows sideways, and I was halfway through a whiskey bottle, sitting on the floor in silence. I hadn't answered Mark's calls in days. I hadn't responded to my father either. Tyler kept urging me to move into the final phase, destruction, but I couldn't quite get myself to pull the trigger yet. Maybe I wanted them to suffer a little longer, or maybe deep down I was afraid that once it was all done, I'd be left with nothing but the wreckage. When the knock came, it was frantic. 3 sharp bangs, pause, then another. I already knew it was him. I opened the door slowly. Mark stood there, soaked, red-eyed, shaking like he was made of paper. "Can I come in?" he asked. I said nothing, just stepped aside. He walked in, dripping on the hardwood. His coat hung limp, his hands buried in his pockets like he was afraid of his own fingers. "I didn't know where else to go," he said, voice raw. "That's ironic," I muttered. He turned slowly, meeting my eyes. "I'm sorry." "No, you're not. You're scared. That's different." "I made a mistake." No, I cut him off. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is leaving your wallet at home. You destroyed a relationship, Mark. You destroyed me. Then you stood next to my father and smiled like it was all fine. He sank into the chair, head in his hands. I didn't plan it like this. It started as, I don't know. He paid attention. He made me feel, don't you dare, I snapped. Don't you dare say he made you feel seen. That's what I did. I saw you. I loved you. Mark looked up, tears now freely running down his cheeks. I hate myself. Good, I said. Then maybe we're finally on the same page. We sat in silence for a while. The rain outside had softened into a steady rhythm. He eventually stood up. What are you going to do? I looked at him, steady. Nothing right now, but when I do it, you'll know. Then I closed the door behind him without another word. That night I didn't sleep. Instead, I met Tyler for a late drive. We took his car through the hills, winding up into a private lot overlooking the city. From up there, everything looked small and manageable. I needed that. I needed to feel above it all for a moment. We're close, Tyler said quietly, passing me a thick folder. Inside, the final piece. Not just evidence now, leverage. Tyler had traced financial records that connected my father to a shady off-the-books account, one he used to cover luxury hotel expenses for Mark. Not work-related, not cleared by the firm. The kind of stuff that, if released, wouldn't just embarrass him. It could trigger legal scrutiny, breach of ethics, misuse of corporate funds, my father's golden reputation, his spotless career. It could all collapse. I stared at the numbers, the dates, the signatures. Are you ready to kill him? Tyler asked, voice calm. And I knew he didn't mean literally. He meant socially, personally, everything that made my father who he was. I closed the folder. Yes. But first, I wanted him to see me, really see me. I wanted to look him in the eyes and let him know it was me who held the knife. So I called him. He picked up on the first ring. Logan, thank God, I've been trying to reach you. I know. Pause. I don't know how to explain myself. You don't have to. Another pause. I could hear the tension in his breath. You must hate me, he said. I smiled bitterly. You have no idea. He sighed. I made a mistake. Funny how they both use the same words. I want to meet, I said. Tomorrow. That cafe you used to take me to after soccer practice. Noon. He agreed, desperate, hopeful. I showed up early, chose the booth in the back. The same one we always sat in when I was 12, sweaty from practice, craving milkshakes. The irony wasn't lost on me. He walked in wearing that same smug blazer he always wore to meetings, but his face was aged now, eyes dull. He looked like a man on the edge. He slid into the booth. You look good, he said. Don't, I replied. He swallowed. I guess I deserve that. You deserve a lot more. I never meant to hurt you. You didn't just hurt me, you used me. You looked at the person I loved and you took him. And for what? To feel young again? He didn't respond. I leaned forward. Did you love him? His eyes flicked down, then up. Yes. The answer didn't surprise me, but it still cracked something inside. I have a file, I said, with everything, photos, audio, bank records. Want to know the best part? He didn't answer. I sent a copy to your firm's ethics board. They're probably opening it right about now. His face drained. And another copy? Went to Mom. His breath caught. Logan, no. She deserves to know. His hands trembled. Please, Logan, I can't undo it. But if you send this out, I'll lose everything. Good, I said, standing. Then I walked out. The next few days unfolded like dominoes. First, the firm announced his suspension pending an investigation. Then a leak to the press. Then Mom moved out. She didn't call me, didn't text, but Tyler heard from a friend that she'd gone to stay with her sister in Vermont. Mark vanished, deleted his social accounts, quit his job. I heard he moved back to Chicago. And me? I sat alone in my apartment, everything executed, every thread tied up. And yet I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. Until Tyler knocked on my door with a six-pack and a half smile. You win. He said, no, I replied. I survived. And that somehow felt more honest. 1 month later. The media frenzy had died down. The headlines had moved on. My father's name still lingered in quiet conversations within the law world, always whispered, never spoken out loud. His resignation came 2 weeks after the ethics board issued their report. Breach of fiduciary conduct, violation of internal policy, questionable behavior unbecoming of a senior partner. That was the sanitized version. The real story, his affair with his son's boyfriend, remained unconfirmed publicly, but everyone knew. The rumors alone were enough to destroy him. Mark had never reappeared. I sometimes checked the last message he'd sent me. "You got what you wanted. I hope it was worth it." I didn't respond, because I didn't know if it was. My mother sent a postcard. Not a call, not a letter. A postcard, a photo of a lake. On the back, Logan. I can't forgive him. But I don't know if I can forgive you either. Not yet. Mom. Tyler said it was progress. I said it was cowardice. Maybe we were both right. Tyler and I drifted closer in the absence of everything else. He stayed over often now, brought food, movies, comfort, and something else, something resembling healing, even if I didn't want to name it yet. He never pushed me, never asked if I loved him. He just existed in the space beside me, calm and patient, as if he knew I needed someone to be still while I burned. One night, as we lay side by side on my bed, he said something I didn't expect. "You know what revenge really is?" I turned to face him. "What?" "Grief wearing a mask." That hit harder than I wanted to admit. He continued, "You think you want justice, but what you really want is to feel like you didn't lose something important for nothing." I stared at the ceiling. "And did I?" He was quiet then. "That depends. Are you done losing things?" I didn't answer. 3 months later, I stood outside the courthouse in a pressed black suit, watching my father walk out of a deposition, face gaunt, hair thinner, his once confident gait reduced to a slow, tired shuffle. He didn't see me at first, but when he did, he stopped. For a moment, we just stared at each other. "Logan," he said finally, voice hoarse. "Dad." He looked like he wanted to cry, but he didn't. "I lost everything," he whispered. I nodded. "So did I. But I'm still your father." "No," I said, "you're not." His jaw clenched. "I made a mistake." "There it is again," I muttered. The same line. "You know what I think now? You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice." He stepped forward. "Do you hate me?" "I think I did," I said, "but now I just don't care." And that was the cruelest truth of all. He didn't matter anymore. I turned and walked away, leaving him in the shadow of the courthouse where justice had finally crept in and left its bite marks. 6 months later, Tyler moved in. It wasn't romantic, not at first, just practical. I needed a roommate. He needed a place. We both needed less silence. But something shifted. There were nights when we stayed up until 3 a.m., talking about everything and nothing. There were mornings when he made pancakes and pretended not to notice when I cried into my coffee. There were afternoons where we laughed at stupid movies and I forgot, just for a moment, what had been taken from me. Then one night I kissed him, and he kissed me back. Not like Mark had, not desperate, not hollow, but careful, honest, real. I didn't know if it would last, but for the first time in months I hoped it might. 1 year later I visited Mark's grave. He had died 2 months earlier in a car accident. It was ruled an accident, but some reports hinted at something darker. Pills, no skid marks, no attempt to break, no funeral, just a quiet cremation, no family. I brought flowers, not because I forgave him, not because I missed him, but because a part of me would always be buried with him, the part that believed in what we had. I placed the bouquet down and whispered, "You could have been more." Then I turned and walked away. Now my name is Logan Grant. I was the son of a respected attorney, the boyfriend of a liar, the victim of betrayal. But that's not who I am anymore. Now I'm something else. Not whole, not healed, but standing, still here. And sometimes that's enough.